Hey, race fans, welcome to another edition of KnoxvilleDirtDigest.com. Mike Roberts along for the ride again, and Austin McCarl will be joining us after a bit. We have some big news coming from Knoxville Raceway, actually from the World of Outlaws at Knoxville Raceway. Most of you have probably heard some about this, but we'll see if we can break it down for you a little bit more in detail. Also, some results of what happened last weekend at Park Jefferson Speedway, International Speedway, I should say. And then we'll rattle off some names of some drivers who we know for sure will be at Knoxville Raceway on May 8th. That's all coming up next, live on KnoxvilleDirtDigest.com.
Tired of doing this? Get a can of this and spend more time doing this. Seafoam helps engines start easier, run smoother, and last longer. Seafoam. Seafoam! Help your engine run smoother and last longer with Seafoam motor treatment. Just pour it in. Seafoam works to clean your fuel system, clean your oil system, and stabilizes fuel up to 2 years. Make the proven choice. Seafoam motor treatment. Available everywhere automotive products are sold.
Hey, and welcome back to KnoxvilleDirtDigest.com. Mike Roberts along with Austin McCarl, taking time out of his busy schedule. Well, we say busy schedule, but man, talk about a boring year so far for racing. You've been having some fun doing some iRacing stuff, and you actually got to race a real race last week.
Yeah, it was awesome. It's funny, once you race a real race, that iRacing stuff kind of throws out the window. I didn't care so much this week at Eldora, but not like I was practicing and doing all the stuff I'd been doing weeks before. But no, I at least got to go to Florida with my dad and brother, so
right.
I at least got to go to Volusia and East Bay, so I got that a little bit, and then to have it ripped away pretty soon. I mean, I wasn't planning on starting to race until the beginning of April anyway.
Sure.
So this sent me back about a month, but yeah, it's definitely thrown a wrench in, I think, everyone's life.
Yeah, it's been a weird deal. Let's do the old Wayback Machine and start talking about it. And I had your dad on a few weeks ago, and so we kind of already talked about some things. But you literally were born into generations and generations of family racing.
Oh yeah.
Grew up in it, literally. I remember pictures of you as a baby in the trophy shots, actually.
Oh yeah, I've known really nothing else. I mean, since I've been born, my dad's been a professional race car driver the entire time, and I mean, for most of my life, Leonard was either working for somebody as a crew chief. My dad building cars, owned his own cars. I mean, I'm just talking my life. You know, obviously the history's whatever, but I mean, yeah, I've known nothing but that side of the family racing. I mean, in the womb, it's funny listening to Joe Rogan podcast on the way down here, and they were talking about the effects of like playing music for plants and babies in wombs playing music and stuff. And I was listening to race cars in the womb, you know what I mean? So kind of a funny question, but yeah, I mean, it's all I've ever known and all I've ever really wanted to do. I mean, I've definitely had other interests in sports, any male, I want to compete and stuff like that, but racing's always been number one in my life. Everything I do is geared towards that and trying to make that successful, you know, to make a career out of it.
I have to admit, I watched you go-kart race, obviously, but as announcers at Knoxville Raceway, I honestly thought maybe you'd just be the next flagman because you spent a lot of time in turn two with them flags.
I just wanted to be involved. I mean, I think I share a lot of the passion like that my brother and my dad have and Leonard have, and I was stuck up in the suite. I was too young to work on the car per se then.
Right.
And that was just a way for me to be involved. I thought, you know, I knew I wasn't doing anything, but it made me feel like I was somehow doing something or contributing. And, you know, like when I got decent and when Dan and Carlene Aftal got me the big flags,
right.
I mean, the back straightaway fire crew would always joke with my dad that they would watch me. I mean, this was way before, you know, race receivers and drivers had stuff like that. I remember, you know, the guy on the back straightaway writing down the numbers, and we'd have to idle around there for 10 minutes just to get one guy in line, you know?
Exactly.
So, I mean, that they would watch me for red flags and stuff, and I would, you know, see something happening in 3 and 4 that they probably couldn't, and I'd get it out real quick. You know, I didn't have to wait for lights or anything. So, I mean, like I said, it was just a way for me to be involved before I could really get my hands dirty and be involved. And again, I just loved the sport and wanted to do something to feel like I was a part of it.
You started go-kart racing. How old were you?
I think I got my first go-kart when I was 8. I want to say maybe 7. Maybe I got it when I was 7 and raced when I was 8 or something like that. We went to Newton a couple of times. I think I only went there twice actually on Friday nights, and they happened to switch that year to Saturdays, so that kind of screwed me. And then luckily there was a winter series in Waterloo that raced just throughout the winter. What was it? You know, October, November, December, January. But it was only once a month, and that's all the racing I did was 4 or 5 times a year on Coke syrup in Waterloo till I was 14.
Mm-hmm.
My dad got a phone call from a guy from California wanting him to come run his micro, and we didn't know nothing about it. And I had been running more go-kart stuff then. I guess we went to the Tulsa Shootout a couple times.
Right.
So I got to do more racing than I probably acted like. But it was just, we were in the go-kart scene pretty heavy, and that was when micros were starting to come around in Tulsa and that Oklahoma scene. And my dad got the opportunity to run a micro at the shootout, and he hot-lapped it, and he was instantly, like, he was racing with us with the go-kart stuff, and we were tire prepping and doing all the crazy stuff and just getting cancer all over our hands and faces and whatever.
No doubt.
And he ran that thing one time and was like, this is what we're doing. Like, sold all, we
This
literally.
is the next step.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he ran, it was a little sprint car to him.
Right.
It had shocks, and it made sense to us. And it was literally little what we do.
Right, right.
So this go-kart stuff, we were kind of out of our element.
You had Johnny Anderson working with you guys on the go-kart stuff.
Oh, yeah. Johnny Anderson was, we've got some funny stories with Johnny Anderson going up coke syrup racing. My dad probably had to go to Australia, I would assume, one year.
Right.
And Johnny and Jenny took us up, me and my brother up there, and my dad, being the tight ass that he is, got us this little crappy freaking hotel room, and it was gross. And I just remember we always joke with Johnny and Jenny that we all slept in our clothes that night, and it was just gross. But yeah, it was good times for sure.
I remember going up there and watching you and your brother compete up there at Waterloo, and because it was something to do in the wintertime. I mean, we didn't have the technology back then of,
it was
flipping
fun.
things on,
it
was a good time, and steak and shake afterwards, always, enjoying some food. You and your brother, competitive all the time, it seems like. Again, you both grew up in racing, so that's the natural instinct of it. But, when you're out there racing with your brother, just let's talk go-karts for a while. You guys would bang up on each other a little bit.
Oh, yeah, we're brothers.
Yeah.
And we're very opposite people. We're obviously both very competitive, but if you know us at all, we're very different people, and which is kind of funny. But we really haven't raced against each other that much. But, yeah, I always wanted to beat him.
Right.
You're the big brother. You want to be the number one, right?
Yeah, the big dog.
You don't want to get beat by your little brother at anything.
Yeah.
So, like, when we raced English Creek, he beat me a couple times legitimately. And the rides home were not fun.
Yeah.
I didn't like getting beat, but especially getting beat by him. Now I think it'd be different if I'm going to get beat by anybody. I hope it's him.
Right.
But back then it was absolutely not.
He rubbed a little salt in the wound on the way home, did he?
Oh, yeah. Carson. He can get mouthy, so.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was he liked to egg me on. And then he'd always end up getting hurt or getting slapped around a little bit. And you'd be like, man, why wouldn't you just shut your mouth? But
yeah.
I don't know. Some things never change.
It was funny because he was I don't want to say he was late as far as developing, but he was a little shorter than most were at the time, and it's but he had the mouth.
I think for everything he lacked in maturing, I got.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but
yeah,
it is what it is.
I remember one time, and it's gone off the subject, I was hanging out with your mom and dad, and I think you had maybe a Little League baseball game. It was a baseball game.
Probably. I was not good at baseball.
Well, and you kind of alley-ooped. It went between your legs on one that hit towards you. And Carson couldn't have been maybe 5-6 years old, I think, and stands up and just yells, "Austin, you suck!"
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah.
And I'm like, wow, he just said that, blunt and to the point. But back into the racing thing, you guys went micro, and again, I can see your dad doing that. I wasn't around for that, but I can see him saying, "All right, we know more about the setups on this. We know more about what this is doing shock-wise."
Well, I think the main thing, honestly, not to badmouth go-kart racing, was just the tire prep aspect of it it was getting pretty out of hand. And you had to have it, and then you could have too much. The scientific game, I don't want to sound like a dumbass, but it was just ridiculous.
Right.
It wasn't really about racing. It was just about tire prep. And Johnny will probably listen to this and want to kill me, but for us, yeah, it was just a little mini sprint car. It had 4 shocks and torsion bars and coils in the front, and
right.
It was everything you did. We made the same adjustments. It all just made sense to us. It was a little wings. It just made sense. So we went that route, yeah. And luckily English Creek, I think there was only 5 or 6 of us on a weekly basis, and Carson ended up hurting a motor that one year that I ran, and we probably raced 10 or 12 times that year, I guess.
Yeah.
That was a pretty good year when it didn't rain or there was no crazy pandemics. But so we did that, and then the next year somehow my dad talked Janet Holbrook into teaming up with my grandpa, and we got a 360 and did some Sprint Invader shows that next year. What
was it like getting in the sprint car the first time, as far as competition was concerned?
The first time I ever drove a sprint car was at the Iowa State Fairgrounds. They had a little test session, and it was just us and I think one more sprint car and a couple stock cars or whatever. My dad went out there first in it and shook it down or whatever. And I seen that he could get in there and rip around there wide open. So mean, I don't know. I was just a confident, dumbass 15-year-old. You know, I thought, you know, I don't know. I thought I'd get in this thing and be great and off to the Joneses. You know, all my dreams would come true. But I don't know. It was awesome competing. It was different. It was definitely. It was like everything talks about. You think something's easy. You watch something up in the stands for so long, and you think you have a pretty good grasp of it. And I was pretty successful in a micro, and you know, I don't know. I just remember it was a lot different and a lot crazier than I thought it would be. Or, you know, I don't know. I don't know what I really thought, to be honest. It's been a long time.
The speed things back then.
Speed's never bothered me. I still to this day never think I'm going fast.
Right.
Like, I don't know. I think it's weird. Like this kind of long when you don't race for a long time. Like I took 7 months off before this last race, which sucks. I mean, you just sit here so long and you watch videos, but you know you're not going to be sharp when you come back, and you kind of sit there and think, and you kind of doubt yourself when you don't do something for so long. You're like, man, can I do that again? Can I be as good as I was when I stopped? You know what I mean? I don't know. But it is kind of like riding a bike. I mean, like hot lapping the other day, I was like, oh, this feels normal. Like it's just like you don't even think about it anymore, all those doubts or whatever. But I don't know. I never think I'm going fast at Knoxville. I mean, I always think my motor's a turd and not running. So I don't know. I've never really thought about it. Speed doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Being around cars doesn't bother me.
Did you learn a lot? I mean,
it never did being young really either, I guess, to answer your question. I mean, I don't know.
I know a lot of guys.
That's
right. When a lot of times when guys go from karts to sprint cars, and I'll use the Johnson kid last year. You know, everything just happens so much faster. It didn't necessarily bother him, but just the reaction times and everything else.
I'd say that's where the micro helps.
Yeah.
And I think that's why a kid like Gio Selzy can run micros his whole life as a kid and hop into a sprint car, and it's seemingly effortless.
Right.
I mean, obviously there's a ton more horsepower, but it's an open wheel car. It's just a bigger version of it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I think that's where we screwed up. Being in the go-karts and running Coke syrup races, I mean, I just remember being taught, like, you get in line with somebody, like you launch on the back of them and you drive them into the corner, like bump and run them.
Right.
I mean, and that's how you pass people.
Right.
And you get that kind of in your head. And then being a 14, 13-year-old kid, when we got into micros over there, like we were just running into people, and it's like, you can't do that. It was just obviously a totally different car, but a totally different mindset and how to drive it. And being a kid, I'd say that's where my curve was then, honestly.
Sure. We're going to take a first break, and when we come back, we're going to visit more with Austin McCarl, including his debut at Knoxville Raceway. We'll do that coming up next on KnoxvilleDirtDigest.com.
Tired of doing this? Get a can of this and spend more time doing this. Seafoam helps engines start easier, run smoother, and last longer. Seafoam. Seafoam! Help your engine run smoother and last longer with Seafoam motor treatment. Just pour it in. Seafoam works to clean your fuel system, clean your oil system, and stabilizes fuel up to 2 years. Make the proven choice. Seafoam motor treatment. Available everywhere automotive products are sold.
Hey, and welcome back to KnoxvilleDirtDigest.com, and with AMAC, Austin McCarl here right now. Ran with the Invaders for a year, and to this day, I will claim ignorance or whatever, understanding their format. I can't figure it out. I still can't.
I still to this day have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know. They tell me it's best to run third in the dash.
Yeah.
That's what they always say. And I'm like, makes no sense to not want to win something.
Yeah.
But it works. I love the Sprint Invaders. I'm glad they're around. I mean, it's
another form of sprint car racing that you know, it's been around for a long time now. I mean, your dad ran Sprint Invaders, but 360s to get in the Rodex Tournament Champions. That's how he got in that 1 year. So.
Oh yeah. Rusty Rogerson started that series, and I don't know what year it was, but early 2000s.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not that early, but
first time.
What year was it?
Oh, yeah, it had to be like 02.
That early?
Yeah, 01, 02. It had to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Because I hadn't been announced in Knoxville Raceway for maybe 2 or 3 years. I started in Knoxville in '99, so
that's been a
we'll
while.
have to get hold of Rusty and find out.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Different cat. Yeah, he's cool. He's cool. Knoxville Raceway, first time. When was it?
It was a World of Outlaws show when I was 16. I think I just remember racing Tony Lutard down the back straightaway. That's really my only memory of it, to be honest. I remember hot lapping. I had Craig Kinzer behind me, and I was nervous. Like, he had just won the Nationals kind of recently, and he was in the TSR car.
Yeah.
But my first race at Knoxville was an outlaw show. Because I'm pretty sure then that would have been like 2008 or 9, maybe 8. And then like we had opening night, and then the second week of the year was always an outlaw show.
April
it was
Outlaws.
it would always rain and snow out, and my dad would always get mad. Like that was so dumb. You just throwing all these Knoxville guys to the outlaws who have been racing for 2.5 months.
Yeah, yeah. But I know that was tradition. That's it was April and July, and then before you were born, October. We finished up School Bandit Shootout. But as far as racing against the outlaws, you've obviously accustomed to doing that. That's kind of a natural thing now. But you mentioned being a little bit nervous, but man, Steve Kinzer was out there. I mean, some big names that we grew up with. You grew up with
the first name made of the Knoxville Nationals that I made in 2011 during the 4 wide. I was right behind Steve, and that was pretty surreal for me. Yeah, like that was the only. I've never been like I feel starstruck like Tony Stewart, Casey Kane, or stuff like maybe because my dad's friends with him or whatever. Sure. Like that isn't, but and not even him really either. He's never really done that, but. Being an 18-year-old kid and where I was 2 years before that, and then being there, and I just remember going on the back straightaway, and it was like, I mean, it was kind of something out of a movie. Like I was on the inside, kind of in the middle of the 4 wide, the 3rd row, and I was behind him, and we're going on the back straightaway and all the lights and stuff, and obviously you can't hear Johnny or anything, but the fireworks were going, and I was like, I just remember thinking like, this is where I'm going to be. Yeah. Like I was like, this is like this. I don't know, it was surreal.
This is the new game.
Well, yeah, it was like a new high. It was like a new, and I mean, unfortunately, my inexperience kind of showed going into one, and maybe I was a little starstruck.
I wasn't going to bring that up.
That's fine. It is what it is. But
you busted your ass.
It was a learning experience. Oh, yeah, probably one of the top 3 hardest hits I've ever taken. But that's beside the point. But that moment before it was pretty cool.
Was that the first crash you ever had at Knoxville? Was that a national event? Was that your first wreck? At Knoxville, anyway? I think it was.
Maybe.
I think it was.
I mean, knock on wood, I really haven't
you don't
crashed
count.
there too often.
Yeah, no
but
kidding.
when I do, they're pretty big.
I gotta say they're spectacular. I remember one in Troy's car over.
It's a lot more than bolt-on parts when I tend to crash.
Well, it is what it is. Talking about Knoxville Raceway, and I spoke with your dad about this a few weeks ago too. You came really close one night of getting your first feature win.
Yeah, that 2011 year.
Yeah, and Dad had the green-white checker on you, I think it was. And,
yeah, I had Steve working for me then. That was twin feature night. I started 6th, and I got to 2nd, and the leader fell out, which was fine with me at the time. But I remember leading, and it, like my dad always talks about the first time he led at Knoxville, and it was the same thing for me too. Like, holy shit, I can do this, you know. And I led 10 laps, and there was even a restart before that. He might have been running 2nd then too, and I threw a blocker going into 1. And kind of drove away again, and I knew once I didn't see him in 3 and 4. I do remember that vividly. Right. I drove through 3 and 4 that next time, and I didn't see him, and I was like, oh, like I was like, yes. And then there was another yellow with I think 3 to go, or green, white, checkered, whatever it was. And he hadn't ran the bottom the whole race. And anyway, I kind of did the same restart, and he kind of knew it was coming. And he stuck the bottom, and then stuck the bottom in 3 and 4, and I just went to the top thinking I was fine. Like I didn't see him, no threat. I didn't throw another blocker. I just whatever. Yep, zinged it. And he just stuck the bottom and drove underneath me. And man, if you watch the video, and I kind of remember too, coming on the front straightaway right then, like if it wasn't him, I think I might have pulled the trigger on him going back into 1, or even if it was today, I definitely would have. Right, definitely would have. But then I think I was a little timid and just thought, well, shit, maybe running 2nd's pretty good, you know. Yeah. But now he's getting a right rear back in 1 and 2. But I had the opportunity; it would have been fine. But watching the video, I just didn't. For some reason, I just didn't. I just stayed on the top. I was confident. I don't know, but yeah, that one sucked.
He came in and
well, I just remember thinking that was like came so close, and then we went and ran the next feature, and Steve and I pulled the T-Mac and tightened ourselves up way too much, and we weren't very good. Like I ran like 12th. And I just remember going home that night, just focusing on that thing. Like we were close, like we were good. And like it was still another however many years till I finally got that first one.
He didn't want to talk that night. That was the first time your dad never wanted to talk.
He's wearing my uniform in the victory lane.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't want to. He had to be there because of his job, but he did not want to talk about it. And you mentioned it.
It was fun. I never after the race or even today, it's just kind of weird to talk about because I think if that first one would have happened, who knows what would have happened. Right. But I wouldn't want to ever even for him, I wouldn't want him to ever live with knowing that he lifted or something, didn't win on purpose. No. I don't think that's in our blood. I don't know. If he did, I wouldn't want to know. I know that.
Doug Wolfgang said it best back in '86. First time he ran the alphabet, he came up and I think he was maybe 5th or 4th in the A, whatever it was. He finished up, And somebody says, if you had a yellow flag, if you had this, he goes, well, ifs don't count, but if we could have done this different, yeah.
If ands and buts were candy nuts, it'd be Christmas every day.
Exactly. And your situation, if you would have got your first feature win then, would have made a difference. I don't know. I think you actually
Who knows? Nobody knows.
You built up a lot of character in those next several years getting to that first win.
Oh, yeah.
And I guarantee you, because I was down there for your first win, the emotion was unbelievable. I mean, and I don't know if it was the fact that it because it took that long, or it was the fact that maybe, you just got married the month before.
It was a good year.
Yeah,
it was a good start.
It was opening night at Knoxville Raceway, second year with Troy.
Mm-hmm.
Everything just kind of, the stars lined up, and had a very dominant year, the year you won the championship, actually.
Yeah, that was a fun year. A lot of things happened that year, too, like the year before, kind of leading up. Like I had got with Troy. We were successful. We were good. We didn't win, but we came close.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, that winter I went to Australia and I went to Vegas. I was kind of racing, kind of talking about I didn't take as much time off that, like, it kind of helped. Like, when we got to Knoxville, I was confident and I had been racing. And, like, we qualified really bad that night, actually, and kind of got lucky the way the redraw worked and stuff. But, yeah, no, that night was a night that I felt like any Formula One fans, I felt like had Ayrton Senna talking to me the whole time. Those last few restarts, I was like, I'm not going to get beat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't care what happened. Like, yellow comes out with 5 to go or 7 to go, and then a yellow comes out with 4, and I feel like I'm getting good restarts, and no, kind of same thing. There was kind of no bottom. I was up on the top. I felt good, and then, like, there's another yellow with 2 or 3 to go or whatever it was, and I just remember, like, getting the 1 to go, going on the back straightaway, like, I'm not gonna lose. I am not gonna lose.
Right.
And my fastest lap of that whole race was the last lap.
How do you deal with, and we talk about the championship, you won that, but you also raced your own car besides Troy's car. If he didn't want to travel, you took your own stuff.
Yeah.
You have to.
I think in today's world, you almost have it. It has to be that way. It seems like the guys, other than the few outlaw guys that race a lot, are racing different cars. It just takes so much money.
How do you market yourself for that? That's where I was going with it, because you've got a team you're driving for at that particular case, and then you've got your own team that you have to put something together for. The juggling act for marketing's got to be. It's not impossible. Obviously, you did it, but it's a different way of doing things.
Try and fix it into both. I'm not the best. I don't know. I'm not the best at calling sponsors and doing stuff like that, but I feel like after the sale, I'm really good. I think I can help anybody, but I don't know. It is kind of a juggling act. You just got to be. It's such a fine line today between being this corporate puppet
mm-hmm.
and having a personality, and what is better. Like, you know what I mean? Sometimes I think, being that corporate Carl Edwards kind of guy, but having Carl Edwards had a personality too. He fake punched a guy on national TV.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it was awesome. Finally gave NASCAR something good to talk about.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know. That's probably a better question for my dad. I'm so heavy into the mechanic side, and that's just how my brain works and driving and stuff like that. I don't know. But you got to do it.
I seen you speaking of mechanic. I was going to bring this up later on anyway. We'll talk about it. When you're not driving, you're helping out your brother. You're doing a lot of mechanical stuff. Even your dad too. You've helped out your dad.
I think it goes back to the flagging thing when I was a kid. Like, I want to be involved, and I think mechanically, I would stay the night at Leonard and Judy's, my grandparents' house, my dad's parents,
mm-hmm.
and like I could not wait to get up in the morning and go to the shop with Leonard when he was working on engines. I just remember specifically he would like have me, clean little stupid parts that I couldn't screw up or nothing. But just being in the engine shop and his little engine room and seeing him work on engines, it just always intrigued me. I've always been super into that.
Right.
And I don't know. I just love racing. If I can't drive for whatever reason, usually it's money or not having a motor or something dumb. If I want to go help, I always think of it this way: like, any race is an opportunity to learn something. That particular night, the racetrack's going to be a certain way. Right. Certain crazy things are going to happen. To me, everything's a learning experience. Even if you can't drive, be there and know that if, in this type of situation, if we could go back, we should have put this tire on or done this, or even, that's what notes are for. But I just think the mental notes, even of being there and having those experiences, are better than just reading a piece of paper and be like, well, the track was it.
Right.
So I just think it's all. I don't know. I just love racing. I want to go racing.
You kind of jumped ahead on my question there a little bit. I was going to ask you if mechanicking actually helped you become a better driver.
Oh, 1,000,000%.
Yeah. Obviously.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
I think it helped me with Troy immensely.
Right.
Like, I think, if he ever listens to this, I think he would agree that I think at first he was a little shocked of the feedback I gave and what I wanted, and kind of told him how I would do things. And I just remember the first time I got out of the car at Burlington and told him what I thought, and we instantly just like, he was like, oh shit, you know, like his kid knows what he's talking about.
Right.
So, I mean, I think that definitely helped me and him. I think it definitely helps me. I mean, I don't know. Most of these races, nobody probably pays attention, but I hardly have any help. Like, I usually have one guy come help me, and now it'll be different this year with Brandon Eichenberry coming on board, which I'm super pumped about.
Right.
But I'm usually by myself. Like, it's by myself, and usually we're texting people on the way to the racetrack trying to find a guy to, you know, come help me put fuel in the car and just push me on the four-wheeler up to staging. I make all my own decisions, all my own calls. So I feel everything that I do. And it's kind of funny. Last week we did some stuff before the heat race that I probably wouldn't have done, but Brandon was like, and like, you try and see things a different way and work with different people and try and learn from other people, right? I mean, like, don't be so close-minded. There's more than one way to do something. Skin a cat, dumb cliche thing, but... And I didn't like it. We were so tight, and it was just different. But I felt it right away, knew exactly what we did, why we did it, and why I didn't like it. You know, so I think it helps immensely.
You mentioned you calling guys up.
Well, I think, sorry to interrupt you. Yeah. I'm just kind of in a T-Mac mood right now. I think it goes back to that same thing we always come back to. I've always told myself, if I can't make a career out of driving, make a career out of being a mechanic. Right. You know, so like just some way to be involved.
Be useful.
Yeah, but like not even that, just like some way to feed my itch and feed myself at the same time. Like if I suck as a driver, or you know, it turns out I get hurt, right, or something happens to me to where I can't drive, be able to use my brain and know what I'm talking about and be a mechanic and be useful in other ways. How can I stay in the sport no matter what?
Yeah, don't be an announcer. Don't be an announcer. I'll give you that advice right now. So it doesn't pay the bills.
Yeah.
So. Your dad called me one time. You guys were headed to Burlington. I can't remember where you were, but he calls me up, and you mentioned calling guys up. Hey, can you come do this? Can you come do that? He goes, what are you doing?
He's not afraid to get a guy off Facebook.
Oh, yeah. He says, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm not. You come down to Burlington? No. He goes, no, you're coming to Burlington.
Yeah.
I get down there. It was you, Sunshine, and your dad, and 2 cars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I can remember just plain and simple, I'm pushing your dad around. It was a long push to get the push-off lane. I said, you do know I own a mule, right? He goes, yeah, but he says, I thought that'd be too much to ask.
He always, you know, the question we always got asked from him was that always sticks in my mind was, like when I bitched as a little kid or something about, you know, not having help or whatever, how bad do you want to race, man? Like, you don't have to do this. Like, he'd rather I didn't. And I think my wife probably would, and a lot of people, our lives would be a lot easier. But, you know, like doing that stuff by yourself sometimes, like I think that's where being a mechanic has helped me, is I can be by myself.
Right.
Do I want to be? No. But if I have to go race somewhere by myself, I mean, you need a guy with you. I mean, if you get hurt, you know, whatever. Yeah. But I'm just saying, you know, me and Alyssa can go race and be fine.
Right.
Like, I don't need anybody. I want people. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to sound seated or whatever, but, like, I can do it all myself, and I think that's just kind of like a good It's almost like having a college degree in that sense. Like, I just have it in that and whatever.
She did not grow up in racing, but, boy, she's adapted. I mean, she works.
She's just a competitive little fireball, man. I love her.
I mean, the T-shirt thing. I mean, she works everything, and she'll.
Oh yeah, she's a hustler, dude.
She'll feist you with anybody too. That was like, natural. So
she's like a little Tasmanian devil. It's funny. No, she is though. But like when she crashes, man. Like she's like, she sleeps a lot. It's funny, but when she's up, like if she's awake, it's wide open.
Right.
But as soon as she runs out of that last little bit of fuel, it's off.
Yeah,
it's funny.
That's crazy. Tell us about Brandon. How'd you guys get hooked up for this year?
He has a dumb dream, to be honest. I've obviously known Brandon for a long time.
Right.
He worked for my dad, and I think he says 2010 was the first year I met him. I don't really know, but so obviously I've known him for a long time. He's like a brother to me.
Right.
And he's got the racing needle in him as bad as anybody. And he had the opportunity, he'd been saving some money and wanted to own his own team one day, and the opportunity came up to buy a guy out that he knew and trusted and was good equipment and could kind of get his foot in the door, and he did it. And so we're going to try and do it, whether it works or not or whatever. What's life without a risk? So
what's race fans going to look at that car? What are they looking for? Color and everything else?
It'll just be, he's simple, man. He was a Doug Wolfgang fan, and it'll just be black with the silver wings. We won't be debuting this week with the Outlaws. I'll be in my own car. This kind of COVID-19 thing has slowed us down a little bit, but we should be all right come opening night, whenever that is.
Right.
Hopefully it's in a couple of weeks.
You mentioned the Outlaws, and they're coming to Knoxville on May 8th. I got news for you fans. You're going to have to watch it on pay-per-view, just like Park Jeff last week. Let's talk about Park Jeff real quick, and we got some highlights later on here. But you got to hot lap. You got to race.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was I won't say it was an uneventful night with rain delays and everything else. It was crazy.
I seen some kid tweeted that race was so 2020, and I laughed out loud at that. I was like, it actually was, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it coming down, it rained twice.
Yeah.
Like, people probably don't even know it rained at the start, and then raining in the middle of the feature, and we go a couple laps while it's kind of starting to rain. That was kind of crazy and hectic.
Right.
And then, I mean, two guys, I don't know what happened to Parker, or if he
fuel.
ran it. Was it fuel?
Yeah, it was fuel.
Okay, I heard he broke his steering or something too, but no.
Each way later on, it was fuel.
So two guys run out of fuel on a 25-lap race, which I would have lost a lot of money on, but I don't know.
He said it best, and don't quote
being
me.
Out front.
That was it.
I mean, I think I finished with about 4 gallons, and I have a smaller tank on the most, 28 gallon, than some of those guys. Right. But yeah, I was running the middle and lifting in traffic and stuff a lot more than they.
Glenn went
being
and
out front,
and,
if I was leading, I'd have been wide open.
Yeah,
so.
Glenn checked Zero Frost. He had 5 gallon left.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is. PPM. He tweeted that
I think Ian said he had 5 left too, but
right.
they've got 30. Ian said he has a 30-gallon tank.
30-gallon tank, right? And that's what Parker didn't blame anybody. He says we were out front, running wide open.
Well, the air's super good too. It's kind of like that Florida cliche. I mean, you're putting the fuel to them.
Not your first time at Park Jefferson, but I gotta say, maybe one of the better Park Jefferson tracks I've seen.
I've technically raced there 3 times,
right.
and the first one was an NSL show, and I grenaded a motor in the heat race. And but as far as I remember or can think, and even watching videos and with Carson and stuff, who's raced there quite a bit, I thought that was the best Park Jefferson track ever.
Yeah. I went there and watched your dad race in 2000.
Like, seriously, probably ever.
Yeah. We were on the backstretch pitting back then, and you're up against the fence, and unless a car went by right in front of you and you were paying attention, it was so dusty you couldn't see the cars. Berry Hill competitor to Days of Thunder. So it was nuts. It was nuts. Hey, I know you got an actual job you have to get ready for tonight.
I can sit here and talk all day.
Well, I know it, but we got to let your dad have the 1 hour and 20-minute film,
Oh, okay. Yeah. Take that cake.
You got to let him have a little bit of prestige. So what's the biggest win? I mean, it's kind of a dumb question, but what's the next goal? Everybody wants to win nationals, but what's the next biggest win to nationals? What would you like to win? Besides every night.
I don't know. Every night. I don't know. I want to travel. Not anything against Knoxville, but I think to be a really good race car driver, you have to see a lot of different things. And I feel like sometimes I get stuck in this being 35 minutes from Knoxville thing, which is a blessing and a curse at the same time.
Right.
At the Nationals, when I'm home, in the middle of the night and everyone's 16 hours away from home, it's awesome against the sprint car capital of the world, the Nationals. But I want to travel. I want to go race. I want to go do things. I don't know. To me, the next big one is just the next one.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I've never ran top 5 in an outlaw show. I've come close. Let's just say little milestones, I guess. Let's do that.
Right.
And then just go from there.
Biggest payday still at $10,000 up at Huset's?
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Man, how old were you then? You weren't very old then.
That year I only raced 5 times.
Right.
That was my 5th, maybe my 6th race, I think. What year was it? I was still in college.
Yeah, so probably 20, 21 years old then, I'm going to guess.
I think I was 20 or 21.
Yeah. You mentioned college. We forgot to bring that up. Grandview, graduate.
Yep.
Yeah. What's your bachelor's in what?
Just business administration. I think I've got management, human resources, and marketing.
Right. I was going to bring this up too, and I forgot. I need to start getting notes. The old mad cow's kicking in a little bit, but basketball, you did state championship playoffs there.
Yeah.
Southeast Polk against Ames, was it?
That was 2000. I graduated in 11, so that would have been 2010-11 year.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 9-10 year. I was a junior when we did that.
Yeah, championship game against Ames.
I didn't have much to do with it, but
yeah.
Cody Engel and Tony Sanquist and a bunch of kids that I grew up with, Cody Engel was a badass. He was a badass quarterback and had a bunch of offers to play quarterback. And
Ames had a couple nobody names too up there.
Oh yeah, like we always joked, man, forever after that at parties. We weren't drinking in high school
at all.
Nope. But we would always joke that the spread in the paper was 20 points. They were supposed to beat us by 20, and we only got beat by 10. So we always like to joke that we actually won by 10. I mean, we played 2 guys that are $100 million players.
Right.
I mean, Harrison Barnes' last contract was $90 million or whatever, and McDermott's out here breaking Division I scoring records.
Exactly.
And I mean, it's just crazy.
It was.
And they went stupid. McDermott, honestly, if it was just Harrison and the rest of them, we might have had a chance. But McDermott just went dumb against us.
He went
just went
out.
stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, he couldn't miss.
I went up to that game because I had a buddy of mine. His nephew played for Ames. So we went up there and McDermott was just.
I remember that vividly too. That was cool playing in front of 10,000 people. I mean, everyone came to watch Harrison, but that was cool. That was a cool experience.
They came to see AMAC. It wasn't Harrison. Yeah, they came to see you.
No, definitely not. They wanted to see the guy that they knew was going to the league.
Right.
From Ames. I'm going to North Carolina and stuff. It was funny. Or it was cool. I mean, Roy Williams was there and stuff. I mean, it was wild. It was awesome.
It was a lot of good company around there.
Yeah.
$90 million contract.
Imagine that.
Why are you racing? you could
I always think, God, if I did to make that much money, I definitely couldn't race. But if I had it, man, it would just be. I would have so many engines.
Right.
Just engines.
Multiple teams. No.
I don't know. I'd probably be a little selfish.
Would you hire your brother?
I want to beat people.
Would you hire your brother?
Yeah, I'd probably give him like a car and a motor and just say, the freshen up's on you, bud.
Yeah. Dad, go retire.
No, he can race. I can race. Shit. As long as he can see, I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something. What happens that time where, obviously it can't happen with all three of you on the front row, but first three starting positions when it's all McCarls and finishes that way, man, there's going to be a party.
I just hope it finishes, any race that finishes that way. Me and my dad have ran one too. Quite a bit, not quite a bit, but I mean more than a few times, and that's always fun. I mean, it's always fun when you go somewhere and we're both sitting there changing and we took all the money. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, that's what we went there for.
One of the coolest races I do remember all of a sudden seeing you in was just last year at 360 Nationals.
Yeah,
you were bringing up McDermott. You were on fire. You were lights out.
Yeah, we drew a late number on our qualifying night, and I got qualified deep, and you just bury yourself point wise and. Whatever. Started second, ran second in the heat on my qualifying night, and then got to started 14th, and I got to third, and kind of the same thing with my dad. I didn't throw a blocker. I didn't realize I had a guy that's won 103 outlaw races behind me.
Right.
And just a few shows, but not kind of a somebody. And he got me back, and we ended up running fourth, but that was fun, passed a lot of cars, and then the final night having to run the B. I think probably helped me. I was
you out of the A though for the final.
Yeah,
night.
If I'd have ran third, I'd have locked myself in. Yeah. But what was I getting at? But like that next night, I mean, I would have been the last guy or one of the last guys to make it. And then running that B on the Saturday night, I think probably helped me. I mean, I had to run the bottom and move around, and like Gio ended up getting me, and it was good. I left myself. The racetrack was a lot different than I thought it would be. It was a lot slicker than I thought it would be, and I was really free and whatever, but I think it helped me for the feature for sure. And that was fun. I wished it was more laps. I mean, when you're coming through people like that, and it's just fun having a good car. I mean, it's a funny line I heard one time, like driving a sprint car when it's good is so much fun, but when it's evil, it's just evil. You want to get out of the thing. But it's so much fun when they're like that. And I just remember being able to do whatever I wanted and just going on the front straightaway, like just waiting for that guy to decide what he wanted to do and doing the opposite.
Again, ifs don't count.
Such a good
Five
feeling.
more laps make a difference between third and first?
Oh, and that qualifying night, probably not. Those guys were gone.
No, I'm talking about final night, though, because you were coming.
Well, I finished 10th on the final night. Right. I still needed, but I think 5 more laps in a yellow.
Is it a podium finish, though, or not?
I don't know. The more you get up there, the tougher the guys get. I don't know. I felt really good. You never know. I don't want to talk shit, but I mean, obviously I felt good, and me and Gio were coming up through there pretty good. So I don't know. When Glenn came and asked me how much fuel I had left, and I had like 7 or 8 gallons left, and he asked if it could be 5 more laps, I was like, hell yeah. Right. But if I was leading the thing for 15,000, I'd be like, hell no.
No, 5 less
End
laps.
this thing.
Yeah, exactly. Your dad always uses the coins of phrase. He was on here a couple weeks ago again. He mentioned the fact that you and your brother both say, Dad, we can't do that. It's not the 80s anymore.
Carson especially.
Carson, yeah.
But yeah, it's like you were just saying, normally it'd take 4, or back then it would take 4 people to do something like this, and now it's me and you and a couple cameras. I mean, It's just technology's changed. You can't, I don't know, it's that fine line between being Danny Dietrich and being, some corporate puppet.
Right.
I don't know. What going to be 50-50 what people, if they like you or hate you, but I think okay to be hated. Entertainment. At the end of the day, we're entertainers, right?
Right.
I mean, that's why we're doing this.
You can't pick your dad. I want to know straight up. The driver out there that you've watched the most and admire the most can't be your dad. Who else?
I try and watch Brad Sweet a lot. If I can't watch Donnie Schatz, I try and what's Brad doing. I think people forget how much Brad Sweet's raced and how many different things he's raced and how many things he's won in.
Right.
Like he's like when this whole deal started, they put those YouTube videos up of the midget races and he wins one of those here.
Right.
I mean, the guy's won the Nationals, the Kings Royal twice. I've watched him run top 5 in an Xfinity car in California. I mean, in a stock. I mean, the guy's to say he's underrated feels kind of weird because he's an outlaw champion now. But I feel like overall, I mean. He wasn't talked about, but he hasn't just done something in one thing.
Right.
Like he's done it in midgets, non-wing cars, wing cars at the top level.
Right.
He's done it got into NASCAR, kind of came back or whatever. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like
you're doing the iRacing thing. You're doing the iRacing thing. They talk about Christopher Bell being so universal, but Brad Sweet's been doing that for years.
Oh yeah, he was doing it way before Kyle Larson and Brad Sweet.
Right.
Way.
Yeah.
I mean, the first time I seen Brad Sweet was at Oskaloosa. He won a heat race in his that yellow car or whatever, and I just couldn't believe it, man. Like this little redheaded kid gets out of the car, and honest to God, I think Carson was probably 13 or 12 at the time. I mean, he could have beat the shit out of him.
Right.
I mean, the kid weighed 100 pounds. He looked like, and just was out there wheeling and dealing. I mean, the kid's. I think he's incredible. Yeah. I'm friends with him, so maybe I'm a little biased, but. He's a very intelligent human being.
Right.
I admire the way he studies and the way he thinks. I try and emulate. I mean, my dad too, obviously.
Right. What's the biggest thing you've learned if you were to retire today? What's the biggest thing you can take away from sprint car racing that'll help you out in life?
I don't know.
That's the $1 million question.
The golden rule, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can say that. Like it was Leonard's golden rule was screw them guys.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, sometimes it's just how it's got to be a little bit. I mean,
yep.
I don't know. It's kind of like the Danny Dietrich thing. You can't be afraid to get MF'd on the internet.
Right.
You know?
It is what it is.
Not going to make everyone happy.
We said it last week about Park Jefferson.
Winners tend to piss people off. So.
Yeah, we said it last week about Park Jefferson because social media was beating down on Park Jefferson a lot. You know, and you can talk good about it.
You had to. I feel like you have to read between the lines with that. It's like reading any COVID-19 study.
You gotta.
No, I'm not trying to do that, but I'm just saying you got to look a little bit deeper. Like, I mean, if you're going to one spot of comments or whatever, and it's all just this hate, but like that's where those people go, and then you go over here, and like it's nothing but positive people. And like I told people, like for every one negative comment, at least from what I seen. Maybe positive. People want to argue this, but for every 10, 25 thank yous, we're so happy we'll be I mean, like, people just want to be normal and race, man.
My thing about it is that when they're talking about you, they're at least talking about you. Bad, good, or indifferent.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this whole thing might be good for racetracks in a long time from now, just because maybe not the pay-per-view thing, but I think pay-per-view is a double-edged sword. It's awesome and it sucks. I mean, there's nothing like standing, for example, because it's recent in my mind, like standing at turn 1 of Volusia, and those guys are coming at you at 120 mile an hour, and it's loud and dusty, and there's like, I mean, the guy's coming straight at you at 100 mile an hour, right front's halfway up off the ground, and you're like, there's no way this guy's going to turn. Right. Like, there's no way. And I mean, sprint car racing is insane, and it's awesome live. Like, pay-per-view is great, and it's like, I mean, I love sitting on my deck when we can't be in California and Canada and sitting with my family and friends and watching the Outlaws. Like, that's awesome. It's awesome. But there's nothing like being at a sprint car race. Like, there's nothing compared to live sports. Being at a football game, I mean, yeah, watching it at home is probably better, but when you're there in that atmosphere and that craze, like
I can't sit in a suite at Knoxville.
The Nationals wouldn't be the Nationals if it was a live TV. I mean, a pay-per-view event. You know what I mean? Like, it would be maybe help it, but being there, there's nothing like that. There's absolutely nothing like it. And hearing and like, I hate to bring up Joe Rogan all the time because I just listening to him. It's funny. My dad will kill me, but like he talks about like specials live on Netflix are 60% worse, he thinks, at least, than like being there live. And I think that's true. It's just like anything. Being there live in the environment and, you know, just the atmosphere is everything. Exactly. I mean, pay-per-view's sweet, but again, like, I don't know. It's not the same needle you're putting in your arm when you're standing there and you know what I mean?
The hit ain't there. Like I said, I can't be in a suite. It's not the same for me.
I have to be outside. I can be in a suite, but it's weird.
Yeah.
Like the one time a year I go up there, it is kind of weird.
Yeah.
I love the Brian Klaus's Sweet Tower, but when you go clear up there, it's like watching little ants, and it looks slow and easy, and I'm just like, oh, I can't be down. I gotta be down in there.
Yeah. I literally watched my first pay-per-view last year, the season finale out here. I was out in Vegas, And I'm texting Bachhoven, and I'm texting AJ Jackson because he's doing my job. And Bachhoven finally says, "Will you quit?"
Yeah,
I'm like, I want to be part of this, and I'm not there, and it's driving me nuts. So
Yeah.
it's crazy. Hey, thank you for coming on. We got to talk
I
about
hope I
Park
didn't-
Jefferson, do some highlights here, but
hopefully I didn't ramble too much.
you didn't. Like I said, we're not even close to the Team Mac record, so.
Okay, I could probably get there.
You'll be on again, I'm sure.
Thanks.
All right, Austin McCarl, check him out on pay-per-view next Friday night. We'll come back after this break and tell you how you can do that, and also do a little highlight from Park Jefferson International Speedway coming up next on KnoxvilleDirtDigest.com.
Tired of doing this? Get a can of this and spend more time doing this. Seafoam helps engines start easier, run smoother, and last longer. Seafoam. Seafoam! Help your engine run smoother and last longer with Seafoam motor treatment. Just pour it in. Seafoam works to clean your fuel system, clean your oil system, and stabilizes fuel up to 2 years. Make the proven choice. Seafoam motor treatment. Available everywhere automotive products are sold.
Hey, race fans, welcome back to KnoxvilleDirtDigest.com. And as mentioned, we got a couple things going on here at Knoxville Raceway. Coming up May the 8th is the World of Outlaws. Now, the World of Outlaws have rented the track. All right, so Knoxville Raceway doesn't control anything. And in accordance to what they did with the governor and her rules, it's a non-spectator sport. The only people that are allowed there are the ones that are actually working for the Outlaws or the crews themselves. And even the crews are limited. So you can keep an eye on what's going on there at Dirt Vision on pay-per-view for the Outlaws and check that out. As far as the Knoxville drivers that are eligible for this, it's basically the points guys from last year. Brian Brown, obviously, Terry McCarl, Austin McCarl, Justin Henderson's eligible, Matt Jewell's eligible, Davey Heskin, Trey Starks, Kerry Madsen. You can check out online, pick up names like Tasker Phillips as well, and see what the rest of the list is. Again, these are eligible guys to be invited. It's invitational only, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. The way I understand it, the Outlaws, once they get the invite out, they have 48 hours to respond. They're going to buy their pit passes with a credit card. There's going to be no exchange of cash or money, nothing like that. Kind of similar to what we did with some stuff that was going on last week at Park Jefferson Speedway. Before we show you the highlights of Park Jefferson, though, I do have to, again, thank our sponsor, Seafoam. This stuff right here, the high mileage stuff, believe me, you got the camera right turn there. There it is right there. Right there is exactly why I still have a 2004 Trailblazer with 150,000 miles on it. All right? Make sure you check out Seafoam products and use them, and they support racing. We want to thank Kevin and the guys at Seafoam for everything they do for our sport. Now, as mentioned a little bit ago, we got some highlights coming up courtesy of SpeedShiftTV.com. Those guys were up there doing the pay-per-view at Park Jefferson International Speedway. I have to say the race itself was one of the best races I've seen up there, best race I've seen in a long time anywhere, but all the excitement you could think of with the side-by-side racing all the way to the rain delays. I mean, it just kind of threw everything at you that the 2020 year has been thrown at you so far. We'll go ahead and we'll show you those highlights, and special thanks goes out to Toby Cruz and Terry McCarl for making this happen on the pay-per-view side of life. And also want to say a big shout-out to Adam up there at Park Jefferson Speedway as well, the guy that actually owns the track. Him and McCarl worked together on putting this thing together so fans could have something to do and watch on pay-per-view, and it worked out just great. And the 32 drivers in the sprint cars also appreciated that. So we'll take a look at those highlights and come back and wrap up the show.
It is time to drop the hammer. Big charge from Madsen's going to take her out front. We're going to go side by side for the number one spot momentarily down to the corner. 3 wide back in the field and down to back chute. Big run as the caution flag comes out. Nygaard got tangled up with Ledger towards the tail of the field. It's going to put us under caution here on this initial start.
The pace begins to quicken. The start looks good. The green flag flies. It's showtime. Oh, my. Aaron Reitzel coming together with Parker Price Miller. A little bit of contact. Look at the drag race. Down the back straightaway. Kerry Madsen leads him to turn 3.
Kerry Madsen now working the middle of the racetrack onto the front straightaway. Powers that baby on. Hot pursuit comes the number 14 car, Parker Price Miller.
Look at this off turn 4.
Looking across down the inside. He thought about it. He'll go top shelf again. Turn number 1 and 2 carries momentum through the apex onto the back straightaway. Kerry Madsen lies ahead. Parker Price Miller deep into 3. He's got him. Big drive job down to the apex onto the front straightaway. New race leader out of turn number 4. Right on the tail tank down at turn number 1 and 2. Goes top shelf again. Carries a lot of speed to the outside of Madsen. He'll take him side by side, wing to wing down at turn number 3 and 4. Onto the front straightaway. New P2 on the field. That's Reitzel. And Reitzel now sets his sights on your race leader up front, Parker Price Miller. Anthony Fiore goes the lap down to your race leaders. They'll work into heavier lap traffic. A rolling roadblock out ahead. That's going to be Ledger. And the number 47 car going side by side just ahead of Parker Price Miller. Brandon O'Banion slides out. Look out. Holy smokerama. Wandering around like a lost child down down the back straightaway. Parker Price Miller almost got blazed up.
Oh, my, Parker Price Miller, you've got company. Here comes Reitzel. Reitzel's right there. He's going to run down the back straightaway, looking to take the top spot to turn 3.
That real estate occupied. He slips up, gets on the binder. Look out, a wheelie job coming out of the corner for the 14 car up front. That'll slow him down. Reitzel back into the mix again. Top 2 cars, nose to tail. Turn number 1 and 2 to the outside of lap traffic into turn number 3.
I love it. What a battle we've got on our hands. 8 to go this time by the line. They're 2 wide ahead lap cars. Oh, Reitzel takes a shot at him to the top side. There did even Reitzel. Caution is out. We got one on the side in turn 4.
Oh, my. Oh, my. Caution flag comes out. Reitzel's right there with him. Both of them get into the throttle same time. The loud pedals go down. The green goes up. And down in turn number 1 and 2 go. This time, Reitzel down the inside. Tries to shear off some distance and hang with Parker Price Miller out of tune down the back straightaway.
Lap traffic lies ahead. Can the 80, he's coming. Look at this. Problems for Parker Price Miller, the car number 14. Not sure what went on. He slows up off the top side of turn 1 and 2.
Something broke coming down the front straightaway. He pulled her to the outside.
It's going to be a wild ride, to say the least. Green flies one more time. Watch Zierfoss and Austin McCarl as well. Look at this. Zierfoss is there now. Manson. Oh, Manson right into the back bumper of Reitzel, and Zierfoss to the top spot.
Brock Zierfoss capitalizing on that misadventure down the corner. And Aaron Reitzel came off the pace. Kerry Madsen was not applying pressure to the 87 car. That was Reitzel. Somehow lost his feed, and he drops all the way back through the field. Brock Zierfoss not out of the woods, but the white flag comes out. His final voyage of velocity out here at the American Shaman CBD Oil Open Wheel Nationals, presented by Real Geese Silhouette Decoys. Out of turn number 4 he comes. Checkered flag comes out. Brock Zierfoss picks up the win.
Well, like I said, anything could have happened. It did happen up there at Park Jeff, and it was just a wild, wild weekend. Again, I want to thank Terry McCarl for letting me be a part of that. Again, remind everybody, next Friday night, May the 8th is the date. Dirt Vision will air a live race with the World of Outlaws. That happens on Friday night, May 8th. You can pay for it on Dirt Vision and watch it and sit back in the comfort of your own home. And sooner or later, we'll get some fans in the stands as well. We're still waiting on the governor of Iowa to give us the lowdown of when that might be and exactly how many fans will be allowed and how the format will be. But as long as this COVID thing is going on, folks, we just kind of have to play along and obey by the rules. Tentatively right now, Knoxville scheduled to start May the 16th. But again, keep an eye at KnoxvilleRaceway.com or also KnoxvilleDirtDigest.com for any updates on that. Hey, until next week, we'll see everybody later, and be safe.